Hey, welcome to the Bagger Life. Today let's do an unboxing of my new Clearview windshield for the Harley and review some of the other windshields that I've had and talk about how I arrived at this one. And this is the Clearview that I plan to put on the bike. So I was super excited, did a lot of research, figured out what I needed, and landed on Clearview windshields, put in the order, and found out it was going to take about a month to get it here. Bummed. But now it's here, so let's open it up and see what we got. Now they have these labels that say do not use a blade on the box, and I think that if you're somewhat intelligent about the way you did this, because I did use a blade on the box, you can just zip the sides of the tape and get the box open. Oops. Now the first thing that I noticed is that they used a ton of this super heavy foam packing in here, just layers upon layers upon layers of foam. So that your new windshield should not get damaged. I'm going to peel off the shipping information real quick. And then from other videos, I've noticed that we have some stickers here on the back. So it says, you know, do not remove the stuff, who it's inspected by, it's made in the US, it's a recurve. There's the model number. It does have the little wings and the curve, all that stuff. And the reason that they don't want you to take this film off is because Clearview has great customer service. I think they want you to put it on the bike, ride it, and make sure it's the right windshield for you. Now, if we hold this up next to the Memphis Shades windshield I have, get it fairly lined up, you should see that it's just going to be slightly taller than that Memphis Shade. Now, I'm betting that it's going to be slightly shorter, although I didn't put the original Harley shade back on here, that it's going to be slightly smaller than this one, which you can see that it is. That shade stops there, that shade stops there. It's a little wider, so it's going to give you a bit of a different air pocket. So through the magic of editing, we're going to get that shield off. We're going to get this shield on, so stand by. And that is the new Clearview shield installed. So if you'll notice, it does go up just a little taller, but it gives a much wider footprint or pocket of air for you to sit behind, and it has a little less of a recurve to it, which is why I went up just an inch taller. So you can see on this one it has a pretty severe recurve to it, which knocks that air up a lot higher. These are the 4 windshields I've had on the bike. So let's go back and look at the 4 windshields and do a little bit of talking about why I've traded out from each one. All right, so my windshield journey begins here. So this is the shield that came with the bike. Of course, I bought it used, but this is what it came with, and I rode that for a while. And that shield is fairly optically correct when you look through it, no matter where you're looking. And that shield was was okay, and I rode it for a while. I wasn't getting a lot of wind or a lot of buffeting with it, and we're going to measure right here from the top of the switch, if I can get it to stay, to the top of the shield. That's about 19.5 inches. And I could have kept riding that shield and never changed anything. I started riding with this helmet, and then eventually when Michelle started riding with me, we added comms that were off the bike. Originally we started off with the Harley comms, and that GoPro mount hasn't always been there. And that was early on, just at the end of the winter. So that was a good combination, but as it started to heat up and I was getting less air, I moved to the most ventilated helmet that I could find, which is this little Harley mushroom top, but it has a ton of ventilation, holes in top. So that got my head cooled down. But when my wife would ride with me, we had no comms. So I went to this open face helmet that I could add comms onto so I could get some air and be able to communicate with my wife when she was on the bike. And if you look at this, imagine the passenger back up there. She got some wind, but a minor amount of buffeting. Of course, as it got hotter, and we weren't riding together that much, I wanted more air. So like everybody else does, they go talk to their buddies and ask them what kind of windshield they went to, and that's sort of where you go, I think, or at least I did. I mean, that's how I did it. So maybe you're smarter than I am. All my guys ride super short windshields. Cool. And with the 3 helmets, that worked just fine. And that windshield, I'm going to say, is a total of, if I can get it on there, maybe 13 inches high. You're just going to have to take my word for it, because I can't do 2 things at once. And so the passenger got a lot of air back here. I got a lot of air, and everything was good. Looking over it, the windshield is definitely not obstructing your view. And at this point, I think a good thing to mention is when I go out to the pavement, I need to ride 3 miles of dirt road. And I'm not talking about nice gravel graded road. I'm talking about ruddy 2-lane Jeep trail road. So that's the path in and out of my house with this bike. So being able to see very close to the front of the bike is super important. Otherwise I hit the soft patches and the bike goes down, which is no good. So with this windshield, and the reason I'm not running this one, let's put it back on real quick, is because I then decided that I wanted to run some bags up here. All right, so you got the bags. Everything's fine. The wind comes over them until you get up here, and then there's this big shelfy gap, which for everyone else, including some of the guys I ride with, is fine. My OCD just, I couldn't do it. That was a non-starter, so I had to change the windshield. So I went to the next biggest Memphis Shades, which I think is a 6.5 inch. And I went with the next lightest color. So that gives me plenty of coverage to fix my OCD about the bag hanging out, and it's still fairly low. You can see over the top of the windshield. It's in my lower third of vision. It's not obstructing anything. There's a little bit of distortion right there on the one corner, but eventually I added the GPS so it disappeared on the other corner. The major problem with this windshield is it created a lot of head buffeting, which was not good. And that one is about, can you see that, 15.5 inches high. So when I was riding the Schubert full face helmet or the Shoei helmet with the little visor on it, the head buffeting was so egregious that you could no longer see the road. And I rode this one for about 6-8 months before I was just done with it and it had to go. I figured I'd give it a fair shot. Then I went to the next biggest Memphis windshield, which is the biggest one they make, which is the 9 or the 9.5, and you'll see that they all have this really super curve that kicks the wind up and over you. And that windshield has been the one that I've been running for several years now, but it has a small inherent problem. So you look through it and it's still in down below the halfway point of my vision sitting on the bike. But right here in the corner, and I don't know if the camera's going to pick this up, if you look at the road, there's a really wide field of distortion around there. And this one sets about 17.5 inches tall. Now, I could get rid of that field of distortion by taking away the bags. But if I was going to take away the bags, I could just go back to the shorter windshield. I could go back to the original clear Harley windshield and get rid of the distortion also. But the problem with this windshield, where I sat in a nice clean pocket of air, no matter what helmet I was riding, as that air came across and across me, the passenger was in this turbulent pocket of distortion. I'm 5'10", my wife's about 5'9", so she sets up fairly high on the back of the bike. So if we take that windshield off, and I did a lot of research of the different shields that were out there. I definitely couldn't get anything bigger from Memphis Shield. They just didn't offer it. So I went back and forth and I looked at a lot of shields, and I landed on this Clearview shield, which is not much higher, but it has a wider tapered shape. I ordered it with the GT wings and not the So Severe scallop cut, because I want to build a bigger pocket of air behind the shield. And I ordered it not tinted. And let's get the ruler going the right way. This one put on here, I'll edit that out, is only 18 and 3/4 inches high, roughly, maybe. Let's see. Yeah, 18 and 3/4. So with me sitting on the bike, that windshield is still in the lower half of my vision. I think it's going to fix the distortion problem that I see looking through the windshield down at the road. And I should be able to see through it just fine. It doesn't quite have the same cool factor as if it was tinted. And I did think about getting a tinted windshield, but the thing that pulled me away from doing a tinted shield was the fact that most of the time when I'm getting back from a ride, especially in the winter, try to get in as long a season as I can, but when I do those rides, it gets dark at 4 o'clock. I'm relying on my headlights and my passing lamps to illuminate where I'm driving, and I'm trying to look through the tinted windshield. It's hard. It sucks. I don't like it. So I opted for clear. It's not going to look as cool. That's just the way it is. I want to be comfortable when I'm wearing that shield. I want to be comfortable when I'm wearing that helmet, and I want to be comfortable when I'm wearing that helmet. I don't want my head getting bobbled around and all the bullshit. You know, if we're just going to jump out, my wife and I, and do a day ride, and I know it's going to be a long ride, the options are that, but on long rides where we're going out and doing 250 out, 250 back, she gets tired. So being able to give her the option of getting on the back of that bike gives me a big peace of mind that she's not going to get hurt. Well, welcome to GoPro's overheating. So I hope this history of my journey through the windshield has helped you. This spoiler design really does help with lifting the air away. Hopefully this wider windshield will, with the vents closed and the lower vents closed, will help promote a bigger pocket of air back in here, to keep more air off me. And you know, guys, you're gonna have to do the research. Also, when I changed to the 2021 Harley hammock seat, and then went to the sheepskin cover, that elevation that it gave me up in the pocket of air also changed the characteristics of how the windshield works. So, you know, hopefully you've got what helmets you like figured out. Next, figure out what kind of seat you want to run. Then, one thing you can do is take a measurement of how big the windshield you have is, and you should be able to figure things out from there. Whether you're going to go with a Clearview shield or a Memphis windshield with the spoiler, or you're just updating to a taller or shorter Harley windshield, just my path wasn't the best. if I had been armed with more information in the beginning, I feel like I could have made a better decision and had saved a lot of money. But, you know, I was dead set on going with the low shield. And then as I progressed on my journey for what I wanted with the bike, how I used the bike, what I wanted for the bike to make myself more comfortable, and just my OCD factors, things changed. But, you know, if you can get a head start on it, if you know you're going to run bags up here, or you're not going to run bags up there ever, that's going to change probably what shield you want. Looks are going to come into play, and these windshields are fairly thick, so you're not going to get a whole bunch of deflection like you're going to get on the thinner Harley windshields. When you get going a significant speed, those windshields do flex back somewhat, and they change the wind drive characteristics on the bike. So if you made it this far and you liked the video, hit the subscribe button, throw a like up there, leave a comment. If you have any questions, ask me. I don't know if I have good answers for you, but I'm always happy to chat. And I will do a follow-up video on how I feel this windshield performs with me. And over time, I'll ride it with all the 3 different helmets, and I'll have a pretty good feel for how it's working. All right, guys. Remember, own your ride. To the people at Clearview, I'd like to say, I am sincerely sorry. From time to time, I make statements that I think to be true, but later on I find to be incorrect. And in this case, I want to correct the statement that I wanted to say, that the clear windshield is not as cool as one that may be tinted. We got the shield on the bike, and I was like, okay, well, that's pretty nice. And I sat down on the bike and I looked through the shield, and I had to stop. I took it back off. I cleaned the Harley shield. I put the Harley shield back on. I looked through it. Then I put this shield back on and looked through it. And the optical clarity that you guys have managed to produce and still get a bend in it and use thicker material and all that stuff, that's cool. I said it in the beginning and I was wrong. This clear shield is cool. Yeah, it's gonna get filled up with bugs and dust, and I'm gonna beat the snot out of it. And thank you for everyone at Clearview Windshields that had a hand in making this windshield for my bike. Thank you. I am impressed. Whoever RS is that did the final inspection, yeah, you didn't let something that had a blem in it slide out. Because for the $170 that I spent on this thing, once I got the plastic wrap pulled off and read your instructions and did the final clean on it, I have looked hard and I find no defects. So from me to you, the folks at Clearview that made this shield, thank you. You do good work. I'm impressed, and that's not easy. Have a good day.